Train your mind to be unbreakable. You are not here to be comfortable. You are here because something inside you knows you can be more, stronger, calmer, sharper, harder to break. The world is loud, chaotic, and full of opinions, and most people crumble under the weight of other people's expectations. But not you, not anymore. This audiobook is a blueprint for mental armor. The mindset that turns pressure into power, setback into fuel, and adversity into training. From this moment on, you train your mind to become unshakable, unbothered, and unbreakable. Chapter 1. Stop expecting the world to be easy. Most people are not crushed by life. They are crushed by their expectations of life. They expect comfort. They expect convenience. They expect progress without resistance. And when reality shows up differently, they collapse. The truth is simple. Life is not designed to be easy. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you will stop suffering unnecessarily. People who expect ease suffer the most. People who expect difficulty adapt, grow, and dominate. That's the key. Say it right now. It's not supposed to be easy. Because it's not. And it never will be. The truth most people never learn. Life does not exist to hand out rewards. It does not owe you clarity, support, or perfect timing. It does not bend itself around your comfort. The world is tough. The world is competitive. The world is loud. And you have a choice. Get tougher or get taken out. You don't need easier conditions. You need a stronger mindset. This is where mental toughness begins, not with motivation, but with expectation. When you stop expecting life to be smooth, you stop being shocked when it isn't. You stop taking resistance personally. You stop interpreting struggle as failure. Instead, you start seeing reality for what it is. Resistance is part of the process. Pressure is part of the journey. Difficulty is part of the mission. Most people waste energy being offended that life is difficult. You can't afford that anymore. Adversity is training, not punishment. Think about athletes. Think about entrepreneurs. Think about soldiers. None of them were shaped by easy days. None of them became who they are without pain. The marathon runner didn't build strong lungs by jogging short distances. The soldier didn't learn discipline sleeping late and skipping training. The entrepreneur didn't build resilience by only winning. Pressure creates strength. Struggle builds skill. Resistance develops character. That's the key. Look at the gym. People don't grow by lifting light weights. They get stronger by lifting what is hard, consistently. Life is the same. Your challenges are not punishments. They are weights. They are workouts. They are repetitions. You have a choice. Complain about the weight or get stronger because of it. The simple reframe that changes everything. Most people ask, why is this happening to me? But the mentally tough ask, how is this sharpening me? That single shift changes the outcome. One question keeps you powerless. The other makes you unstoppable. You don't control when difficulty shows up, but you control how you interpret it. That's where mental toughness is built. In your interpretation of adversity, life says, this is the next level. Let's see how you respond. If you see struggle as an attack, you break. If you see struggle as training, you build strength. Say it again. It's not supposed to be easy. Entitlement destroys mental toughness. If there's one thing that weakens people faster than adversity, it's entitlement. Entitlement whispers, this shouldn't be so hard. I deserve better. Life should go my way. But here is the truth. You don't need the world to change for you. You need to change the world. It's not about fairness. It's about focus. It's not about what you deserve. It's about what you decide to become. When entitlement dies, strength begins. The mentally tough understand something simple. Life does not owe you the path. It gives you the opportunity to walk it. You have a choice. Complaining keeps you weak. Responsibility makes you powerful. Behavioral instructions for this chapter. So, how do you apply this mindset immediately? 1. Start the day expecting difficulty. Before the world punches you in the mouth, mentally prepare. Say, today will test me, and I will move forward anyway. This eliminates surprise. This eliminates emotional reaction. This makes you proactive. 2. When adversity hits, interpret as training. Shift the internal dialogue. Instead of, this is unfair, say, this is sharpening me. This is making me stronger. This is preparing me. You have a choice in how you define difficulty. Choose the definition that builds strength. 3. Stop reacting as if life personally attacked you. Life is not out to get you. Life challenges everyone. But the difference is how people respond. When you stop taking adversity personally, adversity stops controlling you. That's the key. Stop waiting for easy. Some people spend their lives waiting for conditions to improve, waiting for support, better timing, motivation, or perfect circumstances. And while they wait, someone else is grinding. Someone else is improving. Someone else is building. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need everything to be perfect. You need to move forward with what you have. It's not about conditions. It's about commitment. Chapter conclusion. Life becomes easier the moment you stop needing it to be easy. Struggle becomes lighter the moment you stop resisting it. Growth becomes automatic the moment you start treating adversity as training. You just built the first foundation of mental toughness. Changing your expectations. Now that you understand the world will not soften for you, it's time to learn how pressure can strengthen you from the inside out. Chapter 2. Pressure turns you harder if you stay in the fire. Chapter 2. Pressure turns you harder if you stay in the fire. Pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the environment where strong people are built. The only difference between those who rise and those who collapse is this. Most people quit in the heat instead of learning from it. They step into discomfort. They feel the stress. They feel the uncertainty. And instead of holding their position, instead of breathing to the pressure, instead of adjusting their approach, they run. They retreat. They leave the environment that was shaping them. And then they wonder why life still feels difficult. They wonder why they never seem to grow. They wonder why other people keep passing them. Here's the truth. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is a test. Pressure is a training. Say it out loud. Pressure is a gym. Pressure is the weight. Pressure is the training. That's the key. Pressure reveals who you really are. People think success reveals character. It doesn't. Pressure does. Pressure exposes everything that is underneath the surface. Your habits, your self-talk, your coping mechanisms, your emotional control, your discipline. Anyone can be confident when nothing is going wrong. Anyone can stay composed when everything is under control. Anyone can perform when the environment is perfect. But pressure strips away the mask. It reveals how well you've really trained. When the situation gets intense, when the clock is ticking, when the stakes rise, what happens? Do you get sharper or sloppier? Do you think or panic? Do you fight or fold? You have a choice. Pressure doesn't decide who you become. Your response under pressure does. Most people quit before they learn anything. Pressure exposes the parts of you that need improvement. That's not failure. That's information. That's feedback. That's the map. But most people don't stay long enough to learn the lesson. They feel discomfort and think, this means I should stop. No, discomfort does not mean stop. Discomfort means you are exactly where you're supposed to be. This is how growth works. Pressure shows your weak points. Weak points make you uncomfortable. Most people run from discomfort. Strong people stay in the fire long enough to transform. That's the difference. That's the separation. Staying calm forces the brain to evolve. When you experience pressure, your nervous system wants to react. It wants to panic. It wants to solve immediately, escape immediately, find relief immediately. But staying calm, holding your ground, creates adaptation. Your brain evolves when you do something difficult long enough for improvement to happen. Just like a muscle grows after repeated stress, the brain learns emotional control only when you stay in the uncomfortable space without running from it. Say it again. Pressure is a gym. Pressure is the weight. Pressure is the training. If you lift emotional weight long enough, you develop emotional strength. If you face psychological stress without quitting, you develop psychological endurance. But if you run from every difficult moment, your mind never gets the reps. You don't need the world to give you fewer challenges. You need to start completing your rounds instead of quitting mid-set. Real-world proof. Look at any peak performer in any arena. Athletes. Champions are not made during the off-season. They're made when the body is tired, the lungs are burning, and the scoreboard is tight. That's when their training takes over. That's when their habits carry them. That's when pressure builds winners. Entrepreneurs. The world does not reward people who can only make great decisions when everything is going right. Business rewards the entrepreneur who can stay rational when the market crashes, the product fails, or the competition rises. Pressure builds business maturity. Soldiers. Military training works because of one principle. The environment is harder than the mission. If you can stay calm while exhausted, dirty, cold, and stressed, you can stay calm when bullets are flying. Pressure increases your threshold. A higher threshold makes everything else easier. The reward comes after pain. Everyone wants the benefits of pressure. Confidence, composure, strength, mental stability, emotional maturity. But they want those benefits without paying the price. You don't earn calmness by avoiding chaos. You earn calmness by surviving it. You don't earn mental toughness by escaping difficulty. You earn mental toughness by embracing it. You have a choice. You can reject pressure, or you can gain the reward that only comes after surviving it. Here's the truth most people never understand. Pressure doesn't break you. It introduces you to the version of yourself that isn't finished yet. That version is half-baked. That version lacks discipline. That version still wants comfort. But that version can evolve if you stay in the fire long enough. Behavioral instructions for this chapter 1. When pressure shows up, don't react. Observe. Pause. Breathe. Watch your emotions instead of acting on them. Say, I'm not being attacked. I'm being trained. 2. Hold a position longer than your emotions want you to. Your growth is in the second you want to leave, but don't. That's where the mental muscle forms. 3. Review the pressure afterward like game film. Ask, what did pressure expose? What weaknesses surfaced? How can I train them? No avoidance, just data, just improvement. Chapter conclusion. Pressure is not your enemy. Quitting under pressure is. If you stay in the fire long enough, you evolve, you grow, you become harder, calmer, and sharper under stress. That's the key. Pressure turns you into something stronger if you stay in the fire. Now that you understand this, we move to the next step. Gaining control over the part of you that tries to react emotionally under stress. Chapter 3. Your feelings don't get a vote. Chapter 3. Your feelings don't get a vote. You live in a world that tells you to trust your feelings, to honor your emotions, to do what feels right. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Your feelings are real, but they don't deserve control. Your feelings are valid, but they don't get to drive the vehicle of your life. Your feelings can speak, but they do not get a vote. That's the key. If you let your emotions decide what you do, you will live like everyone else, reactive, inconsistent, emotional, and weak. But if you train your emotions to follow your decisions, not shape them, you immediately separate yourself from the average. You have a choice. Every single day, you wake up with a decision. Follow your mood or follow your mission. Professionals follow the mission. Amateurs follow the mood. Most successful people do not feel like showing up every day. They don't feel motivated. They don't feel inspired. They don't feel energized. But they show up anyway. And that's why they win. It's not about feeling ready. It's about discipline. It's about consistency. It's about doing it regardless of how you feel in the moment. You are in command, not your mood. Think about an elite athlete. There are days their body aches. Days they don't want to go to the gym. Days when everything in them screams. Rest. Skip. Come back tomorrow. But they still lace the shoes. They still train. Because the world doesn't reward emotional comfort. It rewards disciplined action. That is the key. Now think about entrepreneurs. Everyone sees the success, the cars, the freedom, the income. No one sees the mornings they had 3 hours of sleep because they had to rebuild a business plan for the 6th time. No one sees the late nights when exhaustion hits, doubt creeps in, and every feeling tells them, give up. But they build anyway. They sit in the chair. They make the calls. They keep thinking, planning, creating. Not because they feel like it, but because their mission is bigger than their emotions. You have a choice. If your feelings decide your work ethic, your life becomes unpredictable. If your emotions dictate your actions, your results will be unreliable. You'll be driven by weather systems inside your chest, changing hour by hour, mood by mood, fear by fear. You cannot build a disciplined life on emotional foundations. You cannot build a powerful identity if every day begins with how do I feel? That is not a strategy. That is surrender. You are in command, not your mood. Emotional discipline separates the professionals from the amateurs. It separates successful parents from overwhelmed parents. It separates leaders from followers. It separates winners from everyone else. Think about parents. No one enjoys waking up at 2 a.m. when the baby is crying. No one feels like guiding a rebellious teenager after a stressful day. But they do it anyway, because responsibility is not optional. That's the key. You have to understand this. Your feelings are not the enemy. They are signals. They are data. They are inputs, not orders. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. You can feel fear and still execute. You can feel tired and still perform. You can feel unmotivated and still make progress. That is emotional discipline. Do you know what destroys most people's potential? Not lack of talent, not lack of resources, not lack of opportunity. They have moments of uncertainty, moments of discomfort, moments of doubt, and they retreat. They step back. They quit because their feelings took control. You have a choice. Here's what every elite performer learns early. Motivation is a luxury. Discipline is a requirement. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a system. Motivation makes progress convenient. Discipline makes progress inevitable. If you wait for motivation, you'll achieve occasionally. If you rely on discipline, you'll achieve consistently. You are in command, not your mood. So what must you do? Here are the instructions. Practical, simple, powerful. 1. Make decisions the night before. Before emotions can interfere. Before doubt can speak. Set tomorrow's mission when you are clear, not when you are tired. That's the key. 2. Honor the commitment, not the feeling. Say these words every morning. I do what I said I would do. That single sentence builds identity, strength, and clarity. 3. Don't negotiate with weakness. Weakness will always sound reasonable. It is always persuasive, always emotional. Don't argue with it. Act instead. For track effort, not emotion. Your emotions will fluctuate. Your execution should not. When you start living this way, everything changes. Your days feel different. Your progress accelerates. Your identity solidifies. Because now you are the one driving. Now you are the one choosing. Now your emotions are passengers, not the pilot. You have a choice. Some days you will feel strong, motivated, and ready. Those days are bonuses, gifts, moments to sprint. But the days that count most are the days you feel nothing. The days you feel tired. The days you're uninspired. The days you want to quit. Those are the days that build you. Those are the days that define you. You are in command, not your mood. This is how professionals think. This is how leaders operate. This is how winners build themselves day by day. Your feelings don't get a vote. Your discipline does. You've learned to separate emotions from execution. Now let's go deeper into another level of mental strength. Chapter 4. The discipline of not explaining yourself. Chapter 4. The discipline to show up when no one is watching. This is where most people fail. When the lights are off. When no one is cheering. When no one is waiting on them. When it's just them versus them. Your greatest battles are fought in silence. Not in public. Not on the scoreboard. Not on social media. In silence. When no one is watching. When you could quit and no one would know except you. That's the key. Anyone can post their wins. Anyone can celebrate their highlight reel. Anyone can look disciplined when the camera is on. But the real transformation happens in the shadows, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the hours when your body is tired and your mind is bargaining for comfort. You have a choice, and that choice repeats every single day. Do I show up or do I delay? Do I execute or do I make excuses? Do I build or do I talk? Quiet consistency builds unstoppable momentum. Tiny victories stacked on top of tiny victories. That's what builds mental calluses. That's what builds identity. That's what builds an unshakable self. Most people never understand this. They think progress is glamorous. They think change is inspirational. They think growth looks like motivation. But growth rarely looks like motivation. Growth looks like repetition. Growth looks like sweat. Growth looks like sitting down to do the work, even when every part of you wants to stop. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. It's not about praise. It's about discipline. Think about the gym. The people with the strongest physiques didn't get there because they lifted once in front of camera. They got there because they showed up day after day whether they felt like it or not. 6 a.m. workouts when everyone else was sleeping. Late night cardio when the rest of the world was watching TV. The repetitions no one counted. The pain no one witnessed. The world doesn't see the grind, only the outcome. You have a choice. Think about entrepreneurs. People see the company, the employees, the success. They don't see the years of struggle. They don't see the nights spent alone rebuilding a product line by line. They don't see the failures quietly endured. Most of their progress was silent, unseen, uncelebrated. But that's what made them strong. Now think about soldiers. Before they ever touch a battlefield, they go through thousands of hours of silent, repetitive training, running drills, sharpening instincts, perfecting skills. No camera, no applause, no audience, just discipline. Because when the moment comes, when the test arrives, when the spotlight finally turns on, you fall to the level of your training, not your potential. That's the key. Your private standards determine your public results. Your private habits determine the identity the world eventually sees. Your private discipline determines whether or not your life changes. Results grow in private and reveal themselves in public. Most people do the opposite. They want public praise without private grind. They want recognition without repetition. They want transformation without sweat. But the universe does not work that way. Life pays people in proportion to their discipline, not their dreams. You have a choice. So, how do you become the person who shows up, especially when no one is watching? Here's how. 1. Build a personal standard. Not one based on how you feel. Not one based on what others think. Not one based on outside validation. A standard that is yours. A standard that says, I do the work because I said I would. That single sentence will change your entire life. 2. Track effort, not attention. Stop worrying about who notices. Stop worrying about who sees. Stop worrying about whether anyone cares. Your consistency is not for them. Your discipline is not for the audience. Your work is for the you that you are building. 3. Eliminate the need for permission. You don't need encouragement. You don't need a motivational speech. You don't need support from the crowd. If you wait for support, you'll never start. If you wait for applause, you'll never finish. You don't need their permission. 4. When the small battles, don't wait for the big moment. When the tiny ones, get out of bed when you said you would. Put in 20 minutes of practice when you don't want to read one chapter instead of scrolling. Small victories create momentum. Momentum creates identity. Identity creates discipline. That's the key. Because when you win silently, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. You begin to see yourself differently. And that is when everything shifts. Not when the world validates you, but when you validate yourself. You become the person who does the work, not the person who talks about the work, not the person who wants the work, but the person who executes. The world doesn't see the grind, only the outcome. People will call you lucky. They'll say, it must be nice. They won't understand the years you spend in the dark, building the version of yourself they now see in the light. Let them talk. You know the truth. You know the nights. You know the struggle. You know the silence. You have a choice. Show up when no one is watching, and eventually the world will have no choice but to notice. You've built discipline in private. Now let's tackle the next evolution of personal strength. Chapter 5. Mastering the Art of Calm Under Chaos. Chapter 5. Silence weakens the critics and strengthens you. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the strongest person is the one who doesn't need to speak. Talking drains energy. Execution builds power. That's the key. Most people waste their strength arguing, explaining, defending, and seeking approval. They want to convince others that they are on the right track. They want applause before they've earned results. And that is why they stay average, because they spend their time talking instead of working. You have a choice. You can either talk about progress or you can make progress, but you rarely get both. Silence is not weakness. Silence is focus. Silence is discipline. Silence is energy conserved and redirected toward the grind. When you stop explaining yourself, you free your mind to execute. Because here is the truth. The loudest people often accomplish the least. The quiet ones, the dangerous ones, are working while everyone else is talking. They don't announce what they're doing. They simply arrive with results. That's the key. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to justify yourself to people who aren't going where you're going. People who haven't earned the right to judge you. People who haven't built anything, but feel qualified to critique everything. When you respond, you empower them. When you argue, you acknowledge them. When you defend yourself, you let their opinion influence your direction. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't need their understanding. You have a mission. Focus on that. When you stop defending yourself, your results do the talking. That is how every great achiever wins. Not through debate, through proof. The phrase is simple. Don't argue. Improve. Let your progress become the confrontation. Let your discipline become the statement. Let your success become the punchline. Look at entrepreneurs. The greatest ones weren't online arguing with people who didn't understand their vision. They were building the product. They were serving the customer. They were sharpening the idea. They let results speak. Look at athletes. When critics said they wouldn't make it, they didn't run to the press with rebuttals. They ran to the gym. They trained longer. They executed more. They delivered on the field what could never be argued away. They let results speak. Silence protects your focus and stars external influence, because every minute spent responding to opinions is a minute not spent improving. Every moment spent explaining yourself is a moment not spent sharpening your edge. You have a choice. Do you feed the critics, or do you feed your growth? Silence starves the critics. They thrive on emotional reaction. They want to pull you off course. They want you distracted. They want you insecure. But what happens when you don't answer? What happens when you don't argue? What happens when you don't explain? They lose access. They lose relevance. They lose power. That's the key. Because critics can only hurt you if you let them into your emotions. Silence is emotional armor. Silence is refusal to participate in their game. Silence is a reminder that your path is yours, not theirs. You don't owe them a speech. You owe your future your effort. And here's a shift that changes everything. Stop focusing on proving people wrong. Start focusing on becoming undeniable. Because when you become undeniable, proving people wrong becomes unnecessary. They see it. They feel it. They have no choice but to accept it. You don't win by arguing. You win by improving. You have a choice. Many people are loud early and silent later because reality exposes what noise tried to hide. Don't be that person. Be the opposite. Quiet early, loud later, through results. Here's how to build that kind of silent strength. 1. Redirect your energy toward execution. Each time you feel the urge to respond, argue, defend, or explain, ask yourself, will this help me win? If the answer is no, walk away and work. 2. Create results before you seek recognition. Work in private. Get good in private. Earn confidence in private. Then let the world react to the results they can't ignore. 3. Build emotional control. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everyone deserves a response. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Sometimes the smartest move is silence. For understand that people will talk anyway. Silence doesn't stop the critics. It starves them. Because criticism only works when it lands emotionally. When you stop caring, their power collapses. Your growth depends on focus. Your progress depends on consistency. Your strength depends on discipline. And discipline means choosing what matters and ignoring what doesn't. Talking drains energy. Execution builds power. That's the key. Silence turns you inward. Silence sharpens your thinking. Silence masks your strategy. Silence removes distraction. And then, when your breakthrough comes, the world will finally understand why you were so quiet. You didn't need to talk. You were building. You didn't need to argue. You were advancing. You didn't need to convince. You were becoming undeniable. You have a choice. Your silence is not about weakness. It is about strength. It is about focus. It is about mastery over yourself. You've learned how to shut out the noise. Now, let's close the book with the final message. The closing chapter. The challenge to become unbreakable. Closing. If you take nothing else from this audiobook, take this. Mental toughness is not natural. It is trained. It is built through repetition, through hardship, through showing up when you don't feel like it, through refusing to let emotions make decisions for you. Life is not supposed to be easy. You are not supposed to be comfortable. You're supposed to grow, evolve, get sharper, get harder, become someone capable of standing the fire without shattering. Pressure is your training. Routine is your weapon. Silence is your advantage. From this moment forward, stop expecting ease and start embracing the responsibility of being unbreakable. So now the challenge is simple. Tomorrow, when your feelings try to stop you, do the work anyway. Prove to yourself, not once, but every day, that you are becoming stronger, calmer, and harder to break. The world will notice. But first, you must earn it.